Welcome back, everybody. So today I have a little bit of a difficult project we're going to be doing today. So basically this is a local guy's car, and unfortunately, as you can probably see right there, he didn't have the best luck. He did this beautiful job on this car. He did a big B16, I think, or maybe B18 GSR swap, turbo. Beautiful interior, all that stuff going on. But unfortunately, Mother Nature came along and dropped a tree in his car. And so I'm going to try to go ahead and fix this for him today. He was thinking about selling it for a while, but I offered to help, and hopefully we can get this thing back on the road in perfect condition. So what I'm going to have to do today is got to swap out the roof, obviously, and unfortunately it's not just the sunroof, it is the actual pillar as well. So what I'm thinking is, the problem is I would just reskin this, but it's actually, if you can tell, it's dropped down below where the door is supposed to be, so I can't really just reskin that. So what I'm going to have to do is we're going to chop it right about here, here, and here on both sides. We're just going to completely remove the roof and put a new roof on it, because I have a parts car in the backyard that has a pretty much perfect condition roof. It's also an SI. It even has a more or less unrusted sunroof panel and working sunroof. And then once we're done chopping and swapping, I'm just going to primer it and we're going to move on, because unfortunately the paint that he has on here is Tahitian green, which is the same as my other car, but my Tahitian green and his Tahitian green just don't look exactly the same for some reason. So I'm going to get it primered, block it down, get it nice and smooth, and then he'll take it back to his paint guy who did this paint job, and then he's going to get it all looking perfect again. So first steps first, we gotta strip out the interior, get all this stuff off of the roof, which is all crushed in as well. And once I'm done with that, we will move on to the next step of, unfortunately, we have to remove the windows, which is a pain, but let's get into it. Alright, so now I got the interior all pulled out of the way, so all this is exposed. Hopefully this angle is good for you guys. I have no idea what it's at right now. But basically, next step we got to do is to remove this glass right here. So first thing I'm going to do is cut around this, because when you try to remove it with it still on, it just sort of sticks, makes the window hard to remove. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all that off first. Go around from the inside, try to cut on the glass side. That way you're not dealing with like extra layers of the sealant gumming up your razor and stuff. Try to get all this edge first, and then work on this one last, because I got to try to be careful with the clips in here, because I want to try to reuse them if if they don't break. And then when I'm done painting and everything, got to reinstall the new window, and so I got new seals and all for that. So just go ahead and do that. Got a little assortment of razor blades here. The light ones are going to be good for getting the easy stuff, and then the big one's going to be good for getting the more difficult stuff. And then if all else fails, I have this blade right here, which should do a pretty decent job. I have some issues with it sometimes, but we'll see what happens. So right here, glass side is where we're going to be cutting. But like I said, we're going to remove this piece first. So razor blade back in a bit. like that's about as good as we're gonna get. So let me get my bigger razor set up. We're gonna go around the inside. Now, pro tip, when you're doing this, wear some kind of gloves. Doesn't matter how shitty they are. But basically when you're going around cutting it, you're gonna be going like this, right? And your knuckle's gonna be going up against the glass, which is going to, at some point, give you a blister right there, and it's not fun to go through that. So just put some gloves on while doing this. There we go. Now that I finally cut through that corner, you can see how much glue is in there. It's pretty thick on that part when it's only like maybe a ½ inch for the rest of it. Now I just gotta get this edge out, and like I said earlier, you gotta watch out for the 3 clips. Make sure you don't cut through those. Luckily, now that you got the corner out, you can kind of pull it outwards a bit, and that kind of helps with the cuts. Keeps your razor from getting stuck in it. Now that it's almost out, you want to make sure you're constantly supporting it while you're cutting this last little bit out. Otherwise, obviously, it's just going to fall off the car. Just like that. There you go. I'll set this down somewhere carefully with the rest of the parts. The next challenge is to get this off without breaking these clips. So first thing I do, make a little cut right here. That way you can go around, get all the glue off the actual frame. Not all of it, obviously, it's gonna be a little bit too close, but you wanna get pretty tight onto the frame. And I'm actually gonna leave this last layer of glue whenever I put it all back together and paint it, or at least primer it, because the glass companies like there to be a small layer of glue still there. That way they can actually just put their new glue on top of that, and that helps it adhere. But in the meantime, all I'm really trying to do is get the glue out of the way so I can work with the clips a little easier. See, now I got more access to these. And seeing as the glass is out of the way, I should be able to just pull this right off, if I remember correctly. I think you gotta like twist it and then pull, just like that. There we go. If you're wondering how to remove these, that's how you do it without breaking them. Otherwise, if you try to just pull them off, you're either gonna be breaking these or you're gonna break this, depending which way you pull it. So you have to remove the window to actually get this piece off without breaking it, for future reference. But now I gotta go on these clips. I gotta get like 2 screwdrivers, 2 very thin flatheads, just poke inwards so you get the clip out, and you'll go from underneath them, and they should just come up. So let me get my screwdrivers really quick. Actually, I'm just gonna use 2 razor blades, just like that. There we go. And just like that, they pry right out. Put that right there. Finally. Okay. Alright, that's one window out. I'm gonna go ahead and not waste you guys' time and just pull the other one off camera, and I'll get back to you for the windshield. Alright, we're back, and the CRX now has 2 less quarter windows than it used to. Now I just gotta get this big thing off, and luckily I'm pretty sure it's been really replaced recently, because this glue is actually pretty soft. I already kind of tested it, so with any luck this should go pretty smoothly. But it's basically the same thing. You're just going around the sides like this. I already pulled off the molding, got that out of the way. It's just bigger is the problem, but like I didn't even cut that other side off, and it's already loose. So I'm thinking whatever company installed this didn't do the best job, which is strangely a good thing in my case. Just would suck if it was your car and you actually didn't want it to be like that. But we're just gonna go around the sides like this. Now windshields are always really easy to get the sides and the top off of, in my experience. It's this edge right here that really sucks, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the top and sides, get it all loosened. That way I can start like pushing it up like this, and that'll assist with the bottom side. I know someone's gonna ask me why I don't just use one of those tools that you stick in right here, right, and it's got like the handle and you pull across like this. I've used those in the past, and I've only ever really used the cheap ones. The expensive ones are, you know, kind of pricey. And at least from the cheap ones, like, I didn't really like it. It felt like the blade was too thick, not really sharp, and it just didn't cut very well. It took a lot of effort to get anywhere, and then it always just wanted to bend. So I just use razor blades now, as well as the whole reciprocating saw attachment. And maybe it's a little more time consuming, but it's always done a good job. I can't really complain too much about these razor blades and how well they cut through glue. Oh my god. This whole thing is just falling off for me. This is great. Terrible on a car that's you don't want it to come off of, obviously, but great in my opinion, or great in my case. Alright, let me make sure. Yeah, so we gotta take out that screw and that screw, then I'll finish that up, and hopefully this thing will just fall right out. Whatever. Don't mind my assortment of tools over there. I've been rearranging stuff and happened to just have those all out, and I've just been using them before I put them all away. There we go. Little supports are out. These screws back in the car so I don't lose them, especially not in one of my tires. There we go. Alright, I think I still gotta do a little bit of cutting down there. Well, at least I stuck it down good in one spot. Literally just one. There goes my razor blade. But it doesn't matter. There we go. Just gonna set this down carefully. Oh no! Alright. And just like before, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all this extra glue, get it down, and then we gotta start cutting up the frame. Be right back. You know, some might call this a blessing in disguise, because that is some pretty decent early stages of rust. But luckily the whole thing's getting painted again, so I'm just gonna get that all off before I send it up to the paint guy it's going to, and make sure that's nice and treated and coated over so that won't eat through the frame even after I fix the roof. Alright, now the biggest issue I'm going to be dealing with this is, I know that this doesn't have any internal structures, it's just skin over the body, right? There's no like third piece of metal in between this. There is the mount for the hatch struts. Not too concerned about that. I'm going to cut after it, right? So it only goes up to, here it is, right? It does go up to here, but there's no like third piece of metal in here, right? There is a little bit more up here, but as for like this area specifically, there isn't anything between there. Same thing for the A pillar. Unfortunately, the B pillar, seeing as it's a, well, actually it doesn't matter if it's for a seatbelt, door-mounted seatbelt or pillar-mounted seatbelts, they both have some form of structure inside here. The door-mounted have these, and the seatbelt, the pillar-mounted have one in the internal piece, right? So I'm gonna have to cut this up pretty much as high as I can, like right up to here. That way I try to avoid all that internal structure. I'm gonna try to just chop, and then just cut the outer skin on this one, right? That way I can kind of peel this back, see exactly how that internal structure goes, try to avoid that when I'm getting the other roof off the other car. That way I'm not leaving any unwelded structures on the car once it's all finished, because that's gonna, for one thing, it's gonna rattle around, and other than that, it's gonna potentially cause like a safety issue, right? Because it's the structural rigidity of the car. So yeah, I mean, wish me luck on that. I'm hopefully it's not going all the way up into here, otherwise I might have to work with some reskinning of the roof anyway. But let's go ahead and start chopping this thing up. Real quick, another thing I'm gonna do is when I chop this, right, on the outside skin, I'm gonna cut like right here, and then on the inside skin, I'm gonna go down a few inches, kind of offset it, right? That'll help with structural rigidity, as well as making sure everything aligns right, because then I can go a couple spot welds between. That way I can spot weld those two skins together just like it is from factory, and then it'll just be seamed together on both sides. Okay. It's all disconnected. Same as the other side, obviously. Just gotta do this cut. I'm sure you already noticed I ended up just going straight through back here, because due to this little lip and everything back here, it makes it pretty much impossible to just de-skin this and make a perfect cut right there. So I decided to just do what would make it easier to not mess anything up at the end of the day and just cut all the way through that. But I was able to do the little off-centered cut up here, which seems like it's in a decent spot, and I should be able to make it the same dimensions or same length of cut in the new roof panel. But I'm gonna go ahead and put a tape line down, cut across here, kind of peel this back up, see what's underneath it, and hopefully there's nothing between these two. If that's the case, which I'm not 100% sure it will be, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and I'll get right back to you. Okay, so in case you guys can't see what I can see, I'm having an issue cutting right through here without damaging the structure I did find. So there is a third layer between it. However, I was actually kind of right, because if I cut all the way up at the top, it stops right about here, and it only kind of continues up to about here inside, and it just stops. It doesn't connect to anything up there. So if I chop it all off a little bit higher than that, like, I'm just gonna have to wing it in this side and just cut as low as I am. But on the other side, when I recut it, I'll just probably go to like just the bottom of this hole right here, just a bit more. And then, you know, even though I'm cutting through the middle structure, it's not gonna affect anything, because it's not, you know, it's not being like held up anymore up here. So once after it cuts off right here, there's no more structural rigidity added by it. It's all just down here. So gonna go ahead and cut that off on both sides and pull the roof off of it. There we go. That's all she wrote. There it is. I'll just gently set this down over here. Beautiful. Well, in case you've ever wondered what a CRX with no roof would look like, it looks terrible. But we're gonna fix that. Alright, well anyway, now I just got to do basically all the same stuff to the parts car. I've already stripped it out, so I just got to cut off the windows and chop the roof off to the right places. It's getting kind of late, kind of dark outside, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and once I'm done with it, I will get back to you guys once I'm ready to weld on the new roof. Alright guys, I am back. The new roof is on. It actually lined up really well. I had to measure it like probably about 10 times the side just to make sure it was gonna line up perfect, right? And it more or less does. There's a little bit of gap on the backside here. Looks like I cut this a little bit more crooked than I did the second roof. But the backs line up great. This side's almost perfect. The other side, I just got to trim up a little bit just to flatten it down a bit. And then the back should line up perfectly. And then up here, for the little bit of a gap that I have on at least one of these sides, I'll just have to put a little plate behind it and just weld on that. But that's not a big deal. And the doors line up, everything shuts, and the top of the door like lines up with where the roof goes. I'll just show you. See, it's only off by a tiny amount, and this is the side that I got a lower bit in the back anyway. So it'll bring that down just a bit, which will make this line up perfectly. And I can just start clipping everything together, getting it all tacked in place, double check all the measurements, make sure everything's squared off as much as I can. And then all I gotta do after that is just finish up welding it and give it a spray paint. Alright, sorry I abandoned y'all. I was getting a little bit of a time crunch in this project, and I was trying to get it knocked out really quick, and honestly the video was just kind of holding it back too much, so try to get as much time-lapse footage as I could, but now I got everything masked off. As you can see, overall, not a whole lot of like Bondo or body filler or anything like that needed to fill in all the gaps. Most of it is just bare metal. I managed to get it pretty close to a flat finish, just a little bit in certain places. But like the A-pillar on this side turned out pretty much fine without any filler at all, which was awesome. But everything else took a little bit. But everything should be squared up. I measured it all. It's good to go. Just got all the doors fit and everything. So I just got to go ahead and prime it now. And then we should be pretty much done. So I'm going to put you on time lapse for that and then catch back with you later. Well guys, here's the final result as far as what I'm going to be doing to it. You didn't see it because my camera battery was dead and I didn't feel like waiting for it, but I sprayed on a few coats of filler primer on top of the epoxy primer. So now I still got to sand this down, get it nice and smooth so that the paint guy can do the actual color coat on top of it without having to worry about getting it all smooth, but I'm not going to bore you with that process. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like real quick, and I'm going to put it back together a little bit more after this. I'll throw up some pictures like I usually do, and so you guys can get a better look at it than I can with the camera, because to be honest, this one kind of sucks. But anyway, it's pretty smooth. You can probably barely tell that there's like a difference anywhere. The lines came out really nice, at least anywhere that you'll be able to see them with the car fully assembled. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to blend in these edges a little bit, and once the car's got paint on and everything reinstalled, you won't even be able to tell. If nothing else, it looks a lot better than it did with a tree on top of it. So there's been a development. After talking to the guy about scheduling a time to drop this thing off at the paint shop so it can get painted, did a little bit of talking to the guy, I guess, and he comes back to me and says, hey, how much would you charge to paint the whole thing? So I told him my price, and he says basically, it's all yours, go ahead and finish it for me. So we're going to be painting this thing now, which is good. And just to save you guys time, because I know nobody really wants to watch me sand a car all day, I've skipped to the good part. All the prep is done, it's all masked off. Going to be painting the whole body first, even the trunk area, because this used to be just absolutely covered in rust, but I managed to get it pretty much as clean as I possibly could. I told him I couldn't do much more than what I've done already, because it was literally like rotted down to the point of like basically being no metal left. So I would have to cut it out to get it right. So we'll do that possibly some other day, but for now, I'm just gonna make it usable so that he doesn't have to worry about his trunk rotting out from underneath him. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to painting this thing. Okay, so once again, I skipped a bunch of boring sanding, but I got all the layers of paint that I really want, or sorry, excuse me, I have all the layers of primer that I really wanted so far. So almost the entirety of the body is completely done primered. I blocked it down in all the flat areas that you'll see on the outside. I didn't worry too much about the jams and stuff like that. I just scuffed those down with some Scotch-Brite pads. That's all those really need, because they're not going to be like shown or anything. And the only places I got to finish up now is got to spray a little bit more primer, or specifically the epoxy primer on this corner, because I exposed some metal by sanding a bit too far, because there was a little bit of a problem area right here because of some Bondo that had some pinholes in it that I missed. So they're all filled in now and sanded down. And then this side was even worse. There was just a lot of Bondo on this side that was there before I painted it, and I was trying to work with that. There was a lot of what do you call it? It's like bacony sort of a texture. Honestly, it was kind of like wavy. So I blocked all that down and went too far. Well, I mean, not really too far, just as far as I had to get it smooth, and went back down to the Bondo again. So I gotta go ahead and re-primer this area, and then once that's all dry, I gotta block it down one more time, and then we're good to paint the car finally. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll get to the next step. Alright, sorry if I sound a little funny right now, but I got a mask on because it's a little hard to breathe in here. But we already got the base coat on. It's looking pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it overall. There's a few spots that I would like to be a little bit better, but it's not something that's really going to show anywhere once it's all painted. So now I'm going to go ahead and get a tack cloth out, go ahead and tack it down really quick, and then we're going to put some clear on it, and then we'll be done. Let's go ahead and get that done.
Alright, again, sorry if you can't hear me. I got a bigger mask on this time, but I'm going to try to keep my voice raised. I just got the third coat of clear coat on, did one medium coat, followed by 2 heavy coats. and it is looking spectacular now. I am super happy with this paint job, the way it turned out. The roof cuts, wherever I had to cut the roof and splice it on, you can pretty much not tell at all where those lines are anymore. The clear coat finish turned out amazing. There's no runs anywhere on it as far as I can tell. A few imperfections here and there for like little dust specks and stuff like that, but I'll get those out in the polishing stage. But as far as the body goes, I am completely done with this for now until it dries for a few days, and I'll buff it out, finish it up, put it all back together. And all I have left to do now is to just, like I said, reassemble. But I also got to finish painting the sunroof, the driver's side door, and the driver's side fender. I'm going to save that for another video because I feel like this one's getting kind of long. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, do all that stuff, please. And let me know, I have a question for you guys. Do you like content like this where I finish an entire project pretty much all in one video? Like, do you prefer it all in like one go? Or would you prefer that I do like a series so you don't have to sit through a long video for like 30 minutes to an hour and you just get it in 5 to like 15-minute segments? So let me know that in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.